Oops, I accidentally walked into the alien princess's dressing room, and they were not pleased. Evan was not used to alien cultures. As a human, he had spent most of his life in the busy streets of Earth, navigating human rules and habits. But here, on the Lyran diplomatic station, things were completely different. The station floated silently in space, a shining structure of glass and metal that twisted in ways that made human physics feel strange. Every hallway, every door, and every glowing sign seemed designed for beings who thought differently than him. He had arrived 2 days ago as a cultural liaison, someone who could bridge human understanding with alien expectations. The station's leaders had chosen him because of his calm nature and his reputation for quick learning. Yet, despite all his preparation, Evan felt lost. Today, he was tasked with delivering a data tablet to the royal coordinator, a simple job, or so he thought. The corridors were quiet, filled with the soft hum of the station's life systems. The walls shimmered with information panels, constantly updating schedules, announcements, and codes in the Lyran language. Evan squinted at the signs, trying to match the alien symbols to the simple translations he had memorized. Left at the next junction, he muttered to himself, following the instructions on his wrist device. His boots clicked softly against the smooth floor. He wanted to do everything perfectly. Any mistake here could make humans seem careless or disrespectful. At the junction, two doors appeared. Both had glowing panels above them. One panel flickered slightly, showing the word coordinator, or at least the closest translation Evan could understand. The other was blank, except for alien symbols he didn't recognize. He paused, double-checking his wrist device. "I guess this is it," he said, stepping toward the door on the left. He opened it slowly. For a moment he thought the room was empty, but then he saw them. Three figures stood before him, all tall and regal, dressed in flowing garments that shimmered with colors Evan had never seen on Earth. Their skin had delicate patterns that glowed faintly under the soft lights, and their eyes, large, golden, and unblinking, fixed on him with shock. Evan froze. "Oh, I'm sorry," he stammered. His mind raced. He had no idea what protocol he had just broken. The figures moved slightly, their expressions hardening. One of them stepped forward, her voice calm but sharp. "Who are you?" she asked in flawless English, which surprised Evan. I'm Evan. I'm a human liaison," he said quickly. "I was delivering a tablet to the royal coordinator. I didn't mean to intrude. I think I made a mistake." The room fell silent again. Evan noticed the subtle gestures the princesses made, a tilt of the head, a flick of a wrist. To him, they seemed angry, but not in a way he had ever seen humans react. Their eyes held a sort of cold judgment, as if he had done something unforgivable. From behind, Evan heard the sound of footsteps. Guards arrived almost instantly, moving with precision. Their weapons were not aimed at him, but they were alert, ready for any sudden movement. Evan realized how serious the situation had become. I can explain," he said, raising his hands in a peaceful gesture. One of the guards, a tall Lyran with dark markings on his arms, nodded slowly to the princesses. They did not speak, but their silence seemed to weigh heavier than words. The head princess, taller than the others, finally broke the tension. "This is a violation," she said, her voice measured but firm. "You have entered a private chamber restricted to the royal family and their attendants. Such actions are not tolerated." Evan's stomach sank. Violation, private chamber. He had thought it was just a corridor or a simple room for preparation. Now it seemed that he had walked into the most sacred space of the royal family. "I didn't know," he said softly, trying not to sound like a child. "I swear, it was an accident. The signs, I didn't understand them. I just wanted to deliver the tablet." The head princess stared at him for a long moment. Her eyes were like mirrors, reflecting his fear and confusion. Evan felt exposed, like all his mistakes were suddenly visible to the universe. The guards spoke to each other briefly in Lyran, then turned back to him. One of them gestured for him to follow. Evan obeyed, stepping slowly toward the doorway, careful not to make any sudden moves. The princesses watched him leave, their expressions still cold, still unyielding. Outside the chamber, Evan was led to a small holding area. The walls glowed softly, and a single chair awaited him. He sat down, trying to calm his shaking hands. Every human instinct in him told him to run, but he knew that would make things worse. Minutes passed, which felt like hours. Evan thought about how a simple mistake, one wrong door, had turned his day into a nightmare. He wondered what would happen next. Would he be sent back to Earth in disgrace? Or worse, would he face punishment for violating the sacred space? Finally, a Lyran official entered. "You are to appear before the Royal Council," he said, his tone neutral but firm. "They will decide the consequences of your actions." Evan swallowed hard. The Royal Council was the station's highest authority, the body that made all major decisions. Facing them meant standing before not just the princesses, but the leaders of an entire alien civilization. His heart pounded in his chest. The holding room door opened again, and he was escorted down the winding corridors. He noticed that whispers followed him. Other station staff peeked from behind doors and panels, some staring openly, others just curious. Rumors would spread quickly, and he knew that by the time he reached the council chamber, everyone would have an opinion about him. When the council chamber door opened, Evan stepped inside. The room was enormous, circular, and filled with soft, ambient light. The three princesses stood at the far end, flanked by elders and advisors. Every eye turned toward him. Evan felt the weight of history pressing down on him, as if the room itself were judging his every breath. The head princess spoke first. "Evan of Earth," she said, her voice echoing slightly in the chamber. "You have entered a space forbidden to outsiders. Explain yourself." Evan took a deep breath, trying to steady his voice. "Your Highnesses, I apologize. I did not understand the signs. I was delivering a tablet to the royal coordinator. I opened the wrong door by mistake. I meant no disrespect." There was a pause. The council members exchanged glances. Evan realized that in their culture, a simple apology might not be enough. Actions mattered more than words. One of the elders stepped forward, her robes flowing as she moved. "Intent does not erase action," she said softly. "But honesty can sometimes mitigate consequences. Did you attempt to deceive us once you realized your error?" "No," Evan said quickly. "I didn't. I froze. I didn't move. I wanted to leave immediately, but I waited until the guards arrived. I didn't want to make the situation worse." The head princess studied him carefully. Then she spoke to the council. "He did not flee, nor did he act aggressively. That shows a measure of respect despite the violation. Perhaps this can be considered in his judgment." Evan felt a small spark of hope. Maybe all was not lost. Another princess spoke, her voice softer but still firm. "Our station is a place of trust. Humans often misunderstand our customs. We must decide if this is a simple mistake or a sign of negligence." The council murmured among themselves. Evan stayed silent, waiting. He knew that saying more could either help or hurt him. His heart raced, but he kept his posture calm, trying to show that he was not afraid and that he respected their rules. Finally, the head princess addressed him again. "Your fate will not be decided today," she said. "You will remain on the station under supervision. Tomorrow you will attend a formal hearing. There, your explanation will be fully considered and the consequences will be determined." Evan nodded, relief mixed with lingering anxiety. He had survived the first encounter, but he knew this was only the beginning. One wrong step had led to this moment, and now everything depended on his ability to navigate alien customs and expectations. As he was escorted back to his temporary quarters, Evan thought about the strange, shimmering halls of the station. One door had changed everything. One accidental choice had put him at the mercy of beings whose rules were alien in every sense. He sat on his bed, staring at the soft glow of the walls. How could he explain this mistake to anyone back on Earth? How could he make sure that tomorrow's hearing went in his favor? He knew the only way forward was honesty, respect, and understanding the culture as deeply as he could and fast. The day ended with Evan reviewing every symbol, every corridor, and every protocol he could find. He made notes, sketches, and plans. One wrong move today had taught him a lesson he would never forget. In a place where even a single misstep could have consequences beyond imagination, understanding mattered more than speed, and respect mattered more than intent. Tomorrow would come, and with it the Royal Council. Evan closed his eyes, preparing for the challenge that awaited, knowing that this mistake, though frightening, might also be the beginning of a story that humans and aliens could one day look back on and learn from. The next morning, Evan woke before the station's artificial sun had even risen. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. The events of yesterday haunted him, the shocked faces of the three alien princesses, the guards, silent judgment, and the sense of violation he had caused without meaning to. Today he had to face the Royal Council, and he knew there would be no second chance. He dressed carefully, making sure every garment was in order. Even small details mattered on the Lyran station. Respect was shown not just through words but through posture, presentation, and precision. He reviewed the notes he had taken the night before, sketches of the corridors, translations of signs, and possible explanations for the council. Honesty, he reminded himself, had to be his guide. As he was escorted to the council chamber, the whispers followed him again. The station staff had clearly spread news of the incident, embellishing details as gossip often did. Some called him reckless, others clumsy, and a few curious. But Evan tried not to let it affect him. Today was about the council's decision, not rumors. The chamber doors opened, and Evan stepped inside. The room felt immense, larger than he remembered yesterday, with alien light reflecting off the smooth, polished floor. The three princesses were already present, standing in their usual positions. Their faces were serious but not unkind, which gave Evan a small measure of hope. The head princess addressed the council first. "Today we hear from Evan of Earth. He stands accused of entering a forbidden chamber." She paused, letting the words hang in the air. "We will listen carefully, for intent is important, but actions carry weight." Evan took a deep breath. He stepped forward, keeping his head slightly bowed in respect, as he had seen in the station's cultural guide. "Your Highnesses, council members," he began, his voice steady despite the tension in his chest, "I am deeply sorry for the mistake I made. I did not understand the signs and entered a chamber meant only for the princesses. I did not intend disrespect, and I froze when I realized my error. I waited for the guards and did not attempt to deceive or flee." He saw the head princess nod slightly, acknowledging his words. One of the younger princesses spoke next. "You claim it was an accident. How can we be sure this is true?" Evan pulled out his wrist device, showing them the logs of his movements through the station. "I can show you my path, the translation errors I encountered, and the tablet I was delivering. The records will prove that my actions were not planned and I did not linger in the chamber." The council members leaned forward, examining the data. The glow of the holographic projections revealed the exact route Evan had taken. The head princess spoke again. "It is true. The path shows an honest mistake. You did not attempt to enter the chamber knowingly." Evan felt a wave of relief but stayed composed. He knew this was not yet over. "I understand that a mistake here is serious," he continued. "I accept full responsibility and am willing to make amends. I can help redesign the station's signage and pathways to prevent confusion for future visitors. I want to ensure no one else makes the same error." The council murmured. One elder, an older Lyran with silver markings on her arms, nodded thoughtfully. "This is a rare reaction. Many outsiders who violate our rules attempt excuses, or worse, try to escape consequences. You have not done so. The head princess's eyes softened slightly, though her posture remained regal. Respect is shown not just in words, but in actions under pressure. You have remained calm, truthful, and patient. This is unusual among humans, who often panic in such situations. Evan bowed his head slightly. "I only want to learn and respect your customs," he said. Another council member spoke, this one stern but fair. "Mistakes happen, even to those who are careful, but how you respond defines your character. You have shown patience, honesty, and humility. These qualities may weigh in your favor." The head princess stepped closer. Her golden eyes studied him. "Evan of Earth, the chamber you entered is sacred. Such a violation could result in permanent exile. But the council has seen your response. We recognize that intent matters. You have also offered a solution to prevent future mistakes. These factors will be considered." Evan felt his chest lighten slightly. He could almost breathe again, but he did not smile. In the Lyran culture, showing excessive relief before a decision was made could be seen as disrespectful. The council took a moment to deliberate, their whispers soft and almost musical. Evan waited quietly, his mind racing. He thought about the princesses, their initial anger, their precise gestures, and their serious eyes. He realized that their reactions were not personal. They were guardians of their culture, and he had unknowingly challenged it. After a few minutes, the head princess spoke. "Evan, we have reached a decision. Your actions, though accidental, have been serious. However, your honesty and composure have shown that you respect our ways. Therefore, we will not punish you with exile or imprisonment." Relief washed over Evan, though he maintained his posture. "Instead," the head princess continued, "you will assist the council in improving communication for outsiders. You will advise on signage, translation systems, and visitor orientation. Your experience, though unintended, provides valuable insight." Evan nodded, feeling both pride and humility. He had almost destroyed his mission with a single mistake, but now his mistake had become an opportunity to contribute. The younger princess stepped forward, her voice softer. "We remain cautious of humans, but today you have earned our trust in a small way. Do not make the same mistake again." "I understand," Evan said. "I promise to be more careful and respectful." The council allowed him to leave the chamber. As he walked back through the corridors, he noticed the station staff watching him. Some gave him curious looks, while others nodded slightly in approval. Rumors would spread, yes, but now they would speak of his honesty, his patience, and how he had faced a serious challenge with integrity. Back in his temporary quarters, Evan sat quietly, reflecting on the events. One wrong step had brought him here. One accidental choice could have ended his mission, or worse. But he had learned something important. Mistakes are inevitable, but how one responds defines character. He also thought about the princesses. Though they had been angry, they had respected his calm and honest response. He realized that alien or human, trust and respect were universal values. Over the next few days, Evan worked closely with the council, advising on new signs, symbols, and orientation maps for human and alien visitors. His suggestions helped prevent confusion and created a small bond of understanding between humans and the Lyrans. The princesses watched his work, sometimes silently, sometimes offering careful feedback. Slowly, the initial tension began to fade, replaced with cautious respect. By the end of the week, Evan felt a sense of accomplishment. What had started as a terrifying mistake had turned into a chance to bridge cultures. He had earned not only trust but a unique position where he could contribute to the station's diplomacy and safety. The head princess approached him one morning, her expression serious but less severe than before. "Evan of Earth, you have shown that humans are capable of respect, honesty, and patience. Let this be a lesson to others who come after you." Evan bowed. "Thank you, Your Highness." I will continue to do my best." As he returned to his work, Evan realized that his accidental intrusion had become more than a story of error. It had become a story of learning, growth, and mutual understanding. He knew that in the galaxy, humans would always face challenges in unfamiliar cultures. But today, he had proven that even a mistake could be transformed into a bridge of respect. And so, what began as a moment of fear, embarrassment, and tension had become an opportunity. Evan's wrong step had almost destroyed everything, yet it also opened a door to trust and cooperation, a door that would remain open for years to come. After the council hearing, Evan's days on the Lyran diplomatic station took on a new rhythm. Though his mistake had caused tension at first, his honesty and willingness to help had earned him a cautious trust from the princesses and council members alike. The station, once intimidating and alien, began to feel like a place where he could contribute meaningfully. Evan spent his mornings walking through corridors, checking signs, and studying translation displays. Every symbol mattered, every hallway could confuse a visitor, and every door needed clear identification. His human perspective allowed him to see things the aliens had never noticed, subtle gaps in design that might confuse newcomers. One afternoon, while inspecting a hallway near the royal wing, Evan noticed a small panel that flickered erratically. Curious, he pressed a button, and a hidden projection lit up, showing the schedule for the princesses, appearances, and preparations. He realized that if a visitor accidentally opened the wrong door, they could end up in a sensitive area again. He immediately reported it to the council. The head princess appeared moments later to review the projection. Her golden eyes scanned the data carefully, and for a moment, Evan feared she might be upset. Instead, she nodded. "You see problems where we do not," she said softly. "Humans think differently, and it can be useful. Your insight may prevent future incidents." Evan felt a small thrill of pride. Even though he had once caused chaos, he was now helping maintain order and safety on the station. Over the next week, he was assigned a new task, guiding visiting human delegates during their stay on the station. These visitors were representatives of Earth, curious about Lyran culture and technology. Evan's job was to ensure they did not make the same mistakes he had. At first, it was nerve-wracking. He remembered the fear he had felt walking into the princess's dressing chamber, the silence that followed, and the judgment in their eyes. He was determined to help these new visitors navigate the station without panic or mistakes. During one guided tour, a delegate hesitated in front of a door marked with alien symbols. Evan stepped forward calmly. "Do not enter," he said. "This is a private area for the royal family. Even a small mistake could have consequences." The delegate nodded, grateful for the warning. Evan smiled politely. He had learned that preparation, explanation, and calmness could prevent fear from escalating into panic. Meanwhile, the princesses began to show subtle signs of approval. The youngest, who had been stern and quiet during the council hearing, occasionally greeted Evan in the corridors. She did not speak much, but the brief nods and acknowledgement made Evan feel that his efforts were recognized. One morning, the head princess requested his presence. "Evan," she said, "we are planning a cultural ceremony that will involve both humans and Lyrans. Your experience will be valuable in ensuring that humans do not inadvertently cause offense." Evan accepted immediately. He knew that this was another opportunity to strengthen human-alien relations. Over the next few days, he worked closely with the princesses, explaining simple customs, gestures, and traditions that could confuse humans. He also suggested ways to label areas clearly, improving orientation for visitors. During these preparations, Evan had the chance to observe the princesses more closely. He noticed their dedication, discipline, and attention to detail. They were not just figures of royalty. They were guardians of their culture, responsible for maintaining traditions that had lasted for generations. One evening, As he was reviewing the layout of the ceremonial hall, one of the princesses approached him. "You are very careful," she said quietly. "It is unusual for humans to be so patient and attentive." Evan smiled politely. "I have learned from my mistakes," he said. "It is better to be careful than to cause problems." She nodded, her expression softening. "Yes. You understand respect, even when it is difficult. That is admirable." Evan felt a warmth he had not expected. Despite the rocky start, he was beginning to earn their trust not only through work but also through his character. He realized that respect was not just about following rules, but about understanding the people and their values. The day of the ceremony arrived. The hall was decorated with floating lights, banners that shimmered in alien colors, and intricate patterns on the floor. Delegates from Earth walked carefully, guided by Evan, while Lyran nobles observed with quiet expectation. Evan moved among the guests, offering assistance and reminders. "Please do not touch the banners, they are sacred," he said to one visitor. "Wait for the signal before stepping onto the ceremonial platform," he reminded another. The ceremony began smoothly. The princesses performed their rituals with precision, and the human guests followed Evan's guidance, avoiding mistakes that could have caused offense. Evan watched from the side, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. His guidance had made a real difference. After the ceremony, the head princess approached him. "Evan, your presence here was important," she said. "Without your careful attention, misunderstandings could have spoiled the event." Evan bowed. "I am honored to help," he said. She gave him a small smile. "You have done more than assist. You have shown that humans can learn, adapt, and respect our ways. That is significant." Evan felt a rare sense of pride. What had started as a terrifying mistake had led him to this moment. He had almost caused a disaster, but through honesty, patience, and respect, he had turned it into an opportunity to build trust and understanding. Over the following weeks, Evan continued his work on the station. He became a bridge between humans and Lyrans, someone both sides could rely on for guidance, explanation, and understanding. The princesses, once distant and unapproachable, began to acknowledge him more openly. They discussed protocols, invited him to review plans, and even sought his opinion on how humans might interpret alien customs. One afternoon, as he walked through the corridors, the youngest princess appeared beside him. "Evan," she said softly, "do you understand now why we were upset when you entered that chamber?" "I do," he replied. "I understand that it was private, sacred, and important. I did not mean to offend, and I have learned to respect your customs." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Yes, but also you have shown that mistakes can teach lessons. You turned a wrong step into a chance to improve understanding. That is rare." Evan smiled. "I am glad it helped. I will continue to do my best." As the days passed, Evan reflected on his journey. The accidental intrusion had been frightening, humiliating, and tense. Yet it had led him to a deeper understanding of alien culture, the value of patience, and the importance of honesty. He had grown in ways he could not have imagined. The station, once a confusing maze of alien technology and strict rules, now felt familiar. Evan moved confidently through corridors, opened doors carefully, and interacted with both humans and Lyrans with respect and awareness. In the evenings, he would sometimes stand on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before him, filled with civilizations he had yet to understand. But he knew that one thing remained universal: respect and honesty could bridge even the greatest gaps. The princesses occasionally visited him during his work, offering guidance and feedback. Their interactions became less formal and more collaborative. Evan realized that trust, once earned, could open doors that fear and mistakes could not. One day, the head princess summoned him to the council chamber once more. This time, there was no tension, no threat, only acknowledgement. "Evan of Earth," she said, her voice calm, "you have shown that even mistakes can become lessons. Your actions have improved understanding between our peoples. We recognize your contributions and your respect. Evan bowed deeply. Thank you, Your Highness. I am grateful for your guidance and trust. The council nodded, and the princesses stepped aside. For the first time, Evan felt fully accepted on the station. He had not only survived his initial mistake, but had transformed it into an opportunity to make a meaningful difference. As he returned to his quarters, he thought about the journey he had taken. One wrong step could have ruined everything, yet it had also opened doors, taught lessons, and built connections that would last far longer than a single mistake. Evan realized that the galaxy was full of challenges, misunderstandings, and unknowns. But he also understood that with honesty, respect, and patience, even a human could find a place in a world that seemed alien at first. And so, what had begun as an accidental intrusion became a story not of fear or failure, but of learning, growth, and trust. A story that Evan would carry with him, across corridors, stars, and cultures for the rest of his life. He smiled quietly to himself. The princesses, once fierce and unapproachable, had become teachers, collaborators, and unexpected allies. And Evan knew that no matter how different the galaxy seemed, respect and understanding could always bridge the distance. For the first time, he felt at home, not just on the station, but in a galaxy full of possibilities. Not pleased. Part 4 weeks passed since the Royal Council had ruled in Evan's favor. What had once been a terrifying mistake was slowly transforming into a meaningful chapter of his life on the Lyran diplomatic station. Evan had gained respect, not only from the princesses, but also from the council members, the station staff, and even the visiting human delegates. Yet life on the station was far from predictable. One morning, Evan received an urgent message from the head princess. Evan, it read, your presence is requested for an unexpected diplomatic discussion. Please come immediately to the council chamber. Evan's heart skipped a beat. Unexpected meetings were often a sign of trouble or opportunity. He took a deep breath, straightened his jacket, and walked briskly through the shimmering corridors. The whispers of staff followed him, but he focused on maintaining calm, knowing that confidence mattered as much as caution. When he entered the chamber, the princesses were already present, alongside several high-ranking Lyran diplomats and a small delegation of alien leaders from neighboring systems. Evan realized that he was about to witness something far larger than the previous council sessions. The head princess turned to him. Evan, we face a delicate matter, she said. Several delegations from nearby systems have reported cultural misunderstandings during their visits. We want you to assist in mediating and clarifying human customs to prevent conflicts. Evan nodded, feeling both excitement and nervousness. This was a step beyond simple guidance. It was a role that required diplomacy, tact, and understanding. I will do my best, he said. The meeting began with delegates explaining their concerns. Some were upset that human guests had unknowingly touched sacred objects. Others worried about gestures that humans considered polite but the aliens found disrespectful. Evan listened carefully, taking notes, analyzing patterns, and preparing to offer practical solutions. After the reports, he spoke. Honesty and explanation are key, he said. Humans often act without knowing certain customs. If we provide clear instructions and demonstrations, most misunderstandings can be avoided. Signs, guides, and orientation sessions are essential. The council and delegations listened intently. Evan continued, giving examples of past incidents, carefully avoiding his own mistake from before, but using it as a lesson. He suggested that delegates be introduced to cultural simulations, where they could practice greetings, gestures, and etiquette without fear of offense. The head princess nodded approvingly. Evan, your suggestions are thoughtful. We will implement them immediately. She turned to the other delegates. See how humans can adapt when guided correctly. Your concerns will be addressed. For the next few days, Evan helped organize orientation sessions for visiting delegates. He demonstrated proper gestures, explained cultural symbols, and even conducted small role-playing exercises. The sessions were sometimes confusing. Aliens moved with precision, humans stumbled, but Evan's patience and calm guidance kept everyone focused. During one session, a young delegate accidentally tripped and nearly knocked over a ceremonial object. Evan quickly stepped forward, guiding the delegate back and explaining the significance of the object. The princesses, observing nearby, smiled faintly. It was a small moment, but it showed that Evan's efforts were producing tangible results. Later, as the session ended, the youngest princess approached him. "Evan," she said softly, "you are patient even when others make mistakes. That is remarkable." Evan smiled. "It is easier to teach when we are calm. Mistakes happen, but we can learn from them." She nodded and left quietly, leaving Evan with a warm sense of accomplishment. He had not only prevented confusion, but had built trust between humans and multiple alien civilizations. The station's leadership recognized his efforts. He was given access to more secure areas, allowing him to observe ceremonies, private rituals, and administrative processes, always under careful supervision, of course. These experiences gave him a deeper understanding of the Lyran culture and strengthened his role as a human liaison. One evening, Evan was reviewing station maps when an unexpected alert appeared on his device. A minor system malfunction had caused confusion in the guest quarters. Some visitors were locked in rooms due to an automated security lockdown. Evan acted quickly. He contacted the station's operations team, coordinated with security, and personally guided the locked-in visitors to safety. His quick thinking prevented panic, and the head princess later praised his calm response. "You handled that with care and efficiency," she said. "It shows that humans, when prepared, can adapt quickly to complex situations." Evan realized that his journey on the station was not just about etiquette or translation. It was about trust, responsibility, and understanding the consequences of actions. A single mistake could escalate, but careful, respectful intervention could prevent disaster. Over time, the relationship between Evan and the princesses deepened. They began to involve him in discussions beyond human orientation. They consulted him on strategies to improve communication between humans and other alien species, sometimes asking for his opinion on diplomatic wording or presentation. Evan became a bridge, a rare human trusted in a foreign culture. One quiet afternoon, while reviewing a new orientation protocol, the head princess approached him with a small smile. "Evan, you have proven that mistakes do not define a person. Your efforts show that humans can respect, learn, and contribute meaningfully. That is valuable." Evan bowed respectfully. "I am grateful for your guidance and trust. I will continue to do my best." She studied him for a moment, then turned and left, leaving Evan reflecting on how far he had come. A single accident had nearly ruined everything, yet through patience, honesty, and willingness to learn, he had created opportunities he had never imagined. The station itself began to feel more like home. Evan knew the layout, understood the protocols, and felt confident navigating even the most restricted areas. He had developed friendships with station staff and minor diplomats, who admired his calm demeanor and problem-solving skills. One evening, as he walked along the observation deck, he noticed a small group of alien children playing near the edge of the courtyard. They looked at him curiously, and Evan offered a polite smile. One child stepped forward and mimicked a gesture he had shown during orientation. Evan laughed quietly. "It seems even the youngest are learning," he thought. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the station, Evan realized that he had grown in more ways than one. He had learned patience, diplomacy, and respect for a culture vastly different from his own. He had also learned that mistakes, while frightening, could be transformed into lessons, opportunities, and even bridges between worlds. A week later, the station hosted a major interstellar conference. Delegates from multiple systems attended, each with unique cultures and customs. Evan played a key role in the event, guiding humans and aliens alike. His presence ensured that interactions remained smooth, misunderstandings were clarified immediately, and the ceremonies proceeded without incident. During the closing session, the head princess addressed the gathered crowd. This conference has demonstrated that understanding, patience, and respect can unite diverse civilizations. Evan of Earth has been instrumental in ensuring harmony. Let his actions remind us all that even a small mistake, when met with honesty, can lead to growth and cooperation. Evan felt a swell of pride. He had come from being an accidental intruder to a trusted mediator, bridging species and cultures in a galaxy full of differences. Later, as the station quieted and the stars shone outside, Evan sat on the observation deck, reflecting on his journey. The accidental intrusion into the princess's dressing room had been terrifying, yes, but it had also been transformative. It had taught him humility, patience, and the power of honesty. It had shown him that mistakes do not have to define a person. They can instead guide learning, understanding, and trust. Evan smiled quietly to himself. In the vast galaxy, with civilizations beyond imagination, he had found his place. He had turned fear into growth, confusion into understanding, and an accident into a story of respect, learning, and unexpected opportunity. And as he gazed at the stars, he felt ready for whatever the universe would bring next. Mistakes were no longer a threat. They were lessons waiting to be understood, challenges waiting to be turned into bridges, and paths waiting to be explored. In the end, Evan realized that life, whether human or alien, was full of unexpected moments. What mattered was not perfection, but honesty, respect, and the courage to learn. With that, he felt a calm confidence, knowing that even in the unknown reaches of space, a human could make a difference and be welcomed into worlds that seemed alien at first glance.